This episode has one of the best scenes in the entire series. Jesus is talking with Matthew, and Matthew's writing all of this down. And all this is in the Gospel of Matthew. It's all there. And he says, Matthew's going over everything that Jesus told him to write. But Jesus is trying to figure out how to open up the sermon, how to start it off. And he has a saying to start it off, but Matthew doesn't quite understand it. You are the salt of the earth. And Matthew's also asking questions to Jesus about what all this stuff means. Like, if your left eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. And Matthew says, does that mean everyone's going to have a missing eye? And he goes, if you've already looked at a woman with lust, you already have committed adultery. Just looking at her. If you've seen a woman like that, and right there he says, does that mean everyone's committed adultery? And Jesus is like, and all these things that Jesus is saying, also you've been told to love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies. Matthew's like, how do we do that? How is that possible? And Jesus tells Matthew, he goes, I'm here to start a revolution. You think I came here just to tell everybody, hey, everyone, do what you've been doing for the last 1,000 years. You're doing a great job. No, I want to start a revolution. A revolution from within. To change yourself from within. And it's amazing. And he tells him, he says, you are the salt of the earth. And Matthew's like, but what does that mean? And Jesus says, well, salt gives flavor to a lot of things. I want my people to enhance me and to bring everyone into the, like he's using it as a metaphor. And Matthew says, well, why can't you just tell them what it is instead of using metaphors? And Jesus, he cracks that joke. He's like, oh, Matthew, allow me a little poetry. But he's still trying to figure out how to open up the sermon. And he wakes Matthew up. He says, Matthew, I've got it. Write this down. He says, okay. He says, I'm ready. And he's ready to start writing it down. And Jesus just tells them, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And Matthew's writing all the Beatitudes down. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted, all because of me. And blessed are you when men revile you and hurt you, all for my sake. Rejoice and be glad when that happens, for yours is the kingdom of God. And he tells Matthew all these things. But what's interesting about it is that as he's telling Matthew the Beatitudes, for every single Beatitude, it cuts to one of the disciples and what we've seen throughout season 2. All these Beatitudes apply to every one of the disciples. Like when he says, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. We see Andrew upset because of what happened with John the Baptist. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. We see little James and Thaddeus. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. We see that scene with Big James and John with Jesus when they got angry when they had the rocks thrown at them. All these things, and the last one, blessed are you when men revile you. He's talking to Matthew because Matthew gets crapped on a lot, because he was a tax collector, and he says, after Matthew's done writing it down, he goes, I think I understand. But how is this a map? Because Jesus calls it a map these Beatitudes are a map. How is it a map? And Jesus goes, if someone wants to look for me, those are the groups they should look for. They'll find me there. And Matthew's writing it down, and he goes, and then what? Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth. Like, we'll lead in with that now. Because originally they were going to start it with you are the salt of the earth, and Jesus and Matthew are like, I think it's missing something. So we'll start with the Beatitudes, then we'll lead into you are the salt of the earth and everything else. So I really, really love that scene when Jesus tells Matthew the Beatitudes, and Matthew's writing them down. So that's my favorite scene in this whole episode. And the episode starts off with these two men trying to work out a deal to buy this piece of land. And for some reason, I had a feeling I knew who one of these guys are. One of them. Just from the conversations that they're having. And after they purchase the land, they go into this pub and they're talking, and the one man is saying, but money isn't everything. Don't you want to be remembered for something great and historic? And I thought, oh boy, if this is who I think it is, that is some major irony right there. So that's going on, and as they're talking, it turns out Nathaniel is there, and because they're trying to find a place, Nathaniel, little James, and Thaddeus, they're trying to find a place for Jesus to have the Sermon on the Mount. They're trying to find it, and they're talking, and the two men over here, and one of them says to Nathaniel, "Are you talking about the healer? The teacher who does these miracles? I've heard of him." And Nathaniel's like, yeah, we're trying to find a place to do this big sermon that he's going to do in a couple days. And this one man says, well, I have this land. We just purchased this land. He could use it for that, sure. And later on, he decides to go to the sermon, the two men, and one of them follows Nathaniel, and Nathaniel says, "Oh, you're the man that gave us the land, huh? Oh, okay. Here, come and meet the guys." And Nathaniel takes this man in, and he introduces him to Simon. He says, "Simon, this is the man that made it all possible." And he shakes his hand. He goes, "Hi, I'm Simon." And the man says, "I'm Judas." And I'm like, I knew it. And all I could think of is, so that's number 12. Okay, we got all 12 now. All right, this is interesting. And so, they have this whole... See, and we don't even see the Sermon on the Mount happen. And it's funny. I originally was going to be a part of the filming for the Sermon on the Mount scene. Originally I was, but I couldn't make it, But I wanted to. I wanted to go. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, though. But you don't even see the Sermon on the Mount. We don't see that until season 3. It ends right when Jesus is going to start talking on the sermon. And you see, thousands and thousands of people there. And that was another funny thing I thought was good. The night before, all the disciples are worried, what if nobody shows up? And Mary Magdalene says, what if everyone shows up? A lot of people were there. So I really, really like that. All these things are starting to come together now, and Jesus, he goes out and he's about to start the Sermon on the Mount, and it just cuts off. It says The Chosen, and that was the end of season 2. And so, what do I think of season 2? I think it's fantastic, you guys. I think it's great. And the only way to watch season 2, season 1 is everywhere. Season 1 is on Netflix. It's on, the app. It's on, you can find it on YouTube, I think. But if you want to watch the other shows, the other episodes, it's so easy, you guys. What you do is, you go to the App Store on your phone. I'm going to show you how to do it. You go to search, you type in The Chosen, and it's this one right here. It's the one with Matthew's face on it. It's that one. That's the one. Okay? You just, now it already can say open, but you just click get and it's free. It's free, you guys. You don't have to pay a thing for it. You don't. I'm not kidding. You just download the app. You have every episode at your disposal. Every episode. Including Season 3. Because you can't even find Season 3 anywhere right now. Unless you get it on DVD. But you gotta get it. You gotta get the app. That's the only way you can watch the episodes. The only way. Because this show gets better and better with every episode. So, that is Season 2 of The Chosen. And next week, I'm going to talk about the Christmas special that they did in addition with the second season. So I will talk about that next week, and I'll see you guys there. And what did you guys think of Season 2? And if you haven't seen it, I just told you how to find it.